Hello everyone, this is Rob and welcome to Media Awareness. This video itself is going to be quite different from my usual videos I do on my channel. I typically cover to the topic of music, films, literature, topics that are mainly dealing with the arts and or art related topics. That being stated, I do want to make you all aware, if you are new, that I do have a fundraiser active. I am a disabled individual and I use a motorized wheelchair slash scooter all day, every day for my independence, and I need your help. My insurance will not cover anything with regard to my scooter as they view it as a quote luxury item end quote, despite the fact that I am unable to walk whatsoever, in addition to being unable to use any other type of scooter or power chair, or even a standard wheelchair for that matter, as I only have limited dexterity in one hand. In addition to that, I do not have a backup scooter or wheelchair to rely on, so if my scooter should malfunction, as it did a few months ago, I will yet again be a fish out of the water, a scenario I want to avoid at all costs. With that stated, the fundraiser is linked below at the spot fund. Any and all help is welcome. I cannot stress that enough. Even $5 or $10 can make all the difference in the world, and you can even contribute anonymously. The purpose of the fundraiser is to both assist me with the ongoing refurbishing of my existing scooter, as well as to help me save for the purchase of a new scooter. I arrived at these conclusions following the malfunction, as alluded to a moment ago, whereby my battery charging mechanism failed entirely, and for roughly 2 weeks I needed to be pushed around my own home, my family and friends, which severely limited my independence. However, it was that long overdue wake-up call that I needed a backup plan, and that backup plan is to have a brand new scooter to use moment to moment, day to day, every day, and my existing scooter completely refurbished, waiting in the wings to be used at a moment's notice, if necessary, when necessary. So if you can contribute to the Spot Fund account, it is linked below, directly below the title in the description, as well as in a separate section below the information pertaining to the topic of the United States government shutdown that is currently active. Um, so, with that stated, I want to talk about the government shutdown and what it means for both middle class and low income families and or individuals in this case. Um, and this is completely on the fly. I apologize. I'm not going to be reading from anything or citing any statistics unless I know them factually. But what I am going to be doing is bringing to the forefront some topics that aren't being spoken of and really people should be aware of, and it's not good. I do want to also state that I will not be taking any sides in terms of politics. I will simply be stating my thoughts on the state of things at the current time and the jeopardy that a lot of us are actually facing in the very near future if the government shutdown does not come to an end and people can finally learn to get along and work together for the sake of the government and the country as a whole. So recently, I had applied for heating assistance through LIHEAP. It's a program that's offered through the Pennsylvania Public Assistance Office, as well as in conjunction with, I should say, UGI Utilities, which is gas and electric. For those of you who are not familiar with UGI, PPL is the other provider in this area as well. However, in my area, I use a UGI. And I was recently sent a denial letter for assistance with my heating and electricity due to uh, apparently making too much money. Um, they actually had an error in their system, which was not helpful whatsoever. And when I attempted to rectify that error, it basically is falling on me to do so, and I will be doing so in the very near future. But the point is that I called the public assistance office to attempt to clear up this um, situation. And in listening to the main menu with all the messages that go along with it, they stated some things that I was unaware of and I had not heard before. So this is why this video exists. Um, and this may come as a shock to many people. But as of November, anyone who receives food stamp benefits, at least in Pennsylvania, will not be receiving them until the government is active once again. Active as in up and running, not shut down. And my monthly income is my Social Security disability, which is approximately $1,367. And that has to cover all bills, and now it has to cover all bills and food, clothing, etc. And this is a problematic situation for me as an individual, but also for families that receive public assistance food stamps. And this may actually be an issue that is government wide in terms of the country itself or specific to Pennsylvania. I live in Pennsylvania, so I do not know what other states will be facing in the near future. But I would urge you all, if you live in the United States, to call your public assistance office and find out if you'll be getting food stamps in November or any time in the near future. Because unless the government becomes active once again, any and all benefits that we are receiving through government assistance are not going to be issued to us as individuals, which is going to put us all in a financial bind. Just as the holidays are rolling around, lovely gift from our government. I'm being sarcastic there, but yeah. Uh, in addition to having the error in their system, which was with their error, not mine, and the fact that I have to fix the error without their assistance is a mind-boggling and stressful issue on its own. But on top of that, the food stamp issue is an issue that was completely separate but also interconnected due to the government shutdown. I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to afford to eat from November on. Um, as it was stated also in the voice in the main menu of the public assistance office, that until the government becomes active again, they will not be issuing any assistance in terms of food stamps, heating assistance, electrical assistance, or anything of that nature. They give different numbers for different organizations to help. However, I have tried those agencies and they are no help whatsoever. My income, I have meticulously worked out for my bills, and each month I pay them. Um, and by the end of that, and after acquiring necessities for my home, toilet paper, paper towels, cleaning supplies, etc., there is nothing left. So the fact that this situation is happening is really nightmarish and almost surreal to me in many ways. I have been disabled since the age of 4. For those of you who do not know me or have not spoken with me or have no knowledge of me, I am just I'm not just someone on YouTube who does videos like this. I was a professional counselor for over 15 years, up until the year 2011. Um, I worked in the private sector, in private sector workers' compensation claims. I worked in private practices, counseling individuals with various psychological and or other disorders and or issues. I've also done work for the county and the state. And with all of that under my belt and on my resume, um, I am really frustrated with this whole situation. Uh, Not only that, when I was working with the Bureau of Blindness and Visual Services, a division of the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, and after I had ended my career as a counselor and wanted to begin a career as an author, they had denied that as a viable means of employment. Uh, they encouraged other things which were really off the wall, and one of those was um, making music, as I have a history in that. But I've been writing for years, and that was a passion of mine, and they would not accept that as a viable employment option. So my services through them were discontinued. With that occurring, any assistive technology that I need to function on a daily basis as a disabled individual fell on me to supply myself with. And due to some of the recent donations that came in to the fundraiser itself for the scooter, I actually allocated them for the purchase of the new version of Dragon Dictate, as with the Windows 20, Windows 11, um, 2025 updates. The existing version of Dragon Dictate that I had, which was version 10, would no longer function with Windows 11. And that's how I interact with people online. That's how I talk to them. I dictate and I copy and paste my text into different messaging apps. Discord, Facebook, and whatever, emails. That's how I write. I'm using Dragon Dictate. I've used Dragon Dictate since version 1 in roughly 1990 or so. I was trained by one of the creators of the system, actually, which I'm very proud to say, but I digress. This government shutdown is affecting all of us at the current time, especially those who are employed by the government, whether it be federal, state, or county. Um, it doesn't matter. You guys are suffering at the current time, but it's about to get worse with the suspension of food stamps, the suspension of electrical and heating assistance, as well as other services, perhaps as well, that I do not receive and others do. So, this is something that is major and that is occurring. And the food stamp situation was something I was unaware of until I called, like I said, the public assistance office. I was listening to the prompts on the main menu and the messages that they play until you can actually leave a voicemail because uh, there's no one ever there to answer the phone. And when there is, you get sent to voicemail. And typically, I do not receive callbacks either. In order to receive a callback from the public assistance office, in my recent attempts to do so over the past year and a half to 2 years, depending on the issues, I've actually had to call some local state representatives that I do know, but and then they intervened and they got the public assistance office to call me back as opposed to not calling me back, which was the case for so long. So uh, it's not easy to work with these agencies to begin with. And now with the government shutdown, people that are working without pay are less inclined to help anyone that is in need because they're not getting paid to do it. And I hate to say that, it's not a slam at anyone that does their job in the government and is mentally suffering in anguish over how they're going to get by and afford gas to get to work and take care of their families and stuff like that. It's more of just bringing this to light and bringing this to people's attention and making everyone aware that this is a really severe issue. And if the government shutdown does not end in the very near future, those of us who rely on government assistance to live our daily lives are in deep trouble. I will fully admit that when I uh, got off the phone after listening to those prompts, and I was actually unable to leave a voicemail, in fact, um, they the messages or prompts ended at one point, and I got off the phone, and I had a full blown panic attack, and I am diagnosed with panic and anxiety disorder, depression, and PTSD as a result of my upbringing as well as my employment, as they both together really did me in, which is why I retired myself early from the counseling field as opposed to accepting an offer with the federal government as a advocate for Social Security individuals, which would have brought me a lot of money, but I didn't want to work in that field to begin with, and I felt it necessary to follow my passions and uh, write. And I've been writing consistently. I'm not published as of yet, but I'm working on fine tuning some things that I do have in the works for publication. And I've been actually very leery and second guessing myself on a lot of that due to um, some negative feedback I received over the years from actually family. Um, and it was something I needed to work through. I am in counseling, and I know that sounds kind of amusing, a counselor in counseling. However, it's actually amazing how many counselors receive counseling. Uh, it's a frustrating situation. I'm going to be expanding the fundraiser as a result to cover uh, the issues that I'm currently facing in the relative near future, but more specifically, not only my wheelchair, my scooter, my transportation as my van is not active and has not been for quite some time. Uh, and I need to be able to get to appointments, and without that mobility and ability, I need to rely on other services um, in terms of public transit, the public buses, and after falling while getting off of a bus a month or so ago, I'm leery about taking public buses. There are services for disabled individuals. I have signed up for them, and I'm awaiting approval from them. And I'm not anticipating any issues in terms of being approved. But I also would like to have my uh, options open in terms of an actual vehicle in my uh, possession, so to speak, um, that I can have someone take me somewhere in. If it's after the hours of operation of the disabled transportation services, as they have a cutoff time, I believe at 5 p.m. You can't really get anywhere after that locally in my area of Pennsylvania, at least. And that's been an issue for years, which is why I haven't signed up until this point in time. But after falling while getting off the bus, I thought, well, yeah, I think it's necessary to maybe sign up for these services. That way I'm not jeopardizing my own safety and well being and those of others. So, yeah, there's a lot going on, and I would really appreciate any and all help to the fundraiser below. Once again, I will be updating the actual fundraiser video that is there. The video that is currently there uh, depicts issues with my scooter wheelchair and the actual seat itself. That issue has been rectified, and I really want to send a warm and gracious thanks out to those who contributed for a new and more sturdy and uh, form-fitting seat, as opposed to the standard seat that would come with the scooter itself, which was made out of plastic. The one I'm currently in, and the one that I received thanks to all of you, is a metal frame, much more durable and reliable. And um, with that stated, uh, when I do and am able to purchase a new scooter, I will be acquiring one with the same type of seat I currently use with the metal frame as opposed to the plastic, because the plastic does not last, for me at least. I do live an active lifestyle, at least I try to. I haven't been as active since the pandemic ended, or slowed down. It never really ended, I guess, per se. Uh, there are still cases of COVID going around, and I have asthma, so I have to be careful with that as well. Um, so there's a lot that I'm facing in my life itself, and others are going to be facing similar or other issues depending on services that they receive. So, any and all help is welcome, and even your support in the comment section would be welcome as well. I do hope that this government shutdown can be brought to an end soon and we can go back to living our lives. I don't want to say normally, but as normal as possible for us as individuals, as we all, uh, live our lives differently. And we all have different needs, and we all have technically different disabilities. I don't believe that anyone is um, not disabled. I think we are all disabled in some way, shape, or form. I actually am both legally blind as well as physically challenged. And in 2022 in October, my physical situation became worse due to a potential interaction with the COVID booster and the flu vaccine, which a few days after receiving both of those, I found myself uh, really unable to move my entire one side. And I panicked. I thought I had had a heart attack. I was taken to the hospital, and they did EKG, they did an MRI, and the results were just no heart attack occurred, and they couldn't figure out what had occurred. And the only thing that came to mind was a potential problematic issue with a negative reaction to the two vaccines together. Um, and that hasn't deterred me from taking vaccines. Um, just to make that clear, I do think that they are necessary um, for certain issues. Not for all, perhaps, but for certain ones, yes. My disability is actually preventable um, uh, due to a vaccine that is now given out. At age 4, I contracted epiglottitis, the swelling of the epiglottis, and I was dead for over 6 minutes, which was the time when brain damage sets in. And as a result, scar tissue formed on the areas of my brain that control fine motor skills as well as vision. I was lucky. And I say that in all sincerity. People that have that condition, albeit rare, have typically died or become both mentally challenged and physically challenged. One or the other, or both. So I do consider myself quite fortunate that I retained my intellect and was able to attend college, attend graduate school, um, and go into a field, albeit not the field of my choice, a field that allowed me to have a better understanding of people from a sociological perspective as well as an interpersonal perspective as well. Um, and as a former professional counselor, I'm reaching out with this video to everyone out there. If you do need help, mentally speaking, please call your local helpline for mental health. I was lucky the other night when I had my panic attack. I had friends that were here with me, and I was safe. Had they not been here, I don't know what would have happened. Because I will fully admit that from time to time I have disturbing thoughts regarding my own existence. And it's something that is not an everyday occurrence. It certainly is something that does happen now. And I want to be transparent regarding that. I'm not in immediate danger. I'm not going to harm myself at the current time or any time in the foreseeable future. However, it's difficult to control what happens in everyday life. And when you suffer from panic and anxiety disorder and PTSD and depression, anything is possible. Anything can happen based on what happens on a daily basis in your life. So if you need help, please reach out. That's all I'm saying. I do reach out when I need help, and I really hope that you would as well. There is no shame in admitting that you need help. I want to make that abundantly clear. Too many people have a stigma attached to um, psychological assistance, a negative stigma that comes from years of being conditioned to think that. And fortunately, I learned that my um, issues were issues that could resolve and that were a result of my upbringing as well as my professional employment history combined. Um, so yeah, if you are a person that receives assistance, um, reach out to your local assistance offices and find out what's going on in your area specifically. Also, if you are a person in the position of government, whether it be state or federal, and by some miracle of fate you see this video, please do something. Please. I implore you. Talk to your coworkers and resolve this situation of the government shutdown. As the longer it persists, the more danger all of us are in. This is Rob with Media Awareness. I do want to apologize for the negativity of this video itself. I'm not one to be negative, typically speaking, and many of you know that. I'm typically very cheery. I have had my issues with my mental health, and I made those abundantly clear on my channel as well, which is the reason why I'm making this video as well. Because I want to be completely transparent with my viewers out there. I do consider you all to be friends. I may not know you all. I may not have talked to you all, but a vast majority of you have reached out in one way, shape, or form. And I'm proud to say I've made some wonderful friends worldwide. And I love you all. I really do. And I hope you all have a wonderful morning, noon, or night, wherever you are. Take care. Bye.